What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out another budget-friendly device from Poco called the M3 Pro. This is also a phone that supports 5G connectivity and I know that may be important for some of you. Now, like most budget-friendly phones, of course there are some compromises, and the first compromise that we have with this device is the fact that the phone's frame and the phone's back are made out of plastic. And even though it doesn't look bad, it doesn't feel as premium as other devices that I've tried in the past. The phone still gets a 3.5mm audio jack at the top, so if you want to use some headphones you can. We also have an IR blaster, so you can use the phone as a remote control. On the left hand side here we have the slot for the SIM card, and this device can take either a SIM card and an SD card at the same time or two SIM cards at the same time. For internal storage, you can either buy this device with 64 gigs of internal storage or 128 gigs of internal storage, and that's paired with either 4 or 6 gigs of RAM. I personally have the version with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. Moving to the bottom here we have a USB-C port and the holes for the speaker. Unfortunately, this speaker at the bottom here is the only speaker available. With a lot of Xiaomi phones and budget-friendly Xiaomi phones we do get two speakers, but with this one we only get one speaker at the bottom here. And even though the speaker does get quite loud, it's not gonna be the same as a device that has two speakers. And this is a quick example so you can hear how that speaker sounds. And going back to our phone, on the right hand side here we have the volume buttons and the power button that's also a fingerprint scanner. Of course, like most Xiaomi devices, this works really well, so all you have to do is touch it and the screen will unlock, and it takes about half a second or less for it to unlock. Alright, and moving to the front of the device, well, here we have a 6.5 inches IPS panel, the 1080p resolution and a 90Hz refresh rate. Now, the colors on the screen look great, the viewing angles aren't the best that I've ever seen, but we always have to take into consideration the price of the device. As for the screen's brightness, that's 400 nits, the maximum brightness, right? So when you take the phone outside in direct sunlight, you won't be able to see the screen that well. If you use the phone indoors, no problems whatsoever, but if it's very bright out, you're gonna have trouble seeing the screen. So again, this is a downside that we always have with a lot of budget-friendly devices. At the top of the screen here we have an 8-megapixel front-facing camera, and the maximum recording resolution for the front-facing camera is 1080p at 30 frames per second. However, we do get image stabilization at that resolution. On the back, the main camera is a 48-megapixel sensor. Then we have a macro lens, another lens that's used for portrait mode pictures. The maximum recording resolution with the main camera on the back is once again 1080p at 30 frames per second, and we do have image stabilization at that resolution. And this is a quick example of a video that I filmed the other day with the M3 Pro. Alright, we have a quick video test to the Poco M3 Pro. So the maximum recording resolution for this device is 1080p at 30 frames per second. However, we do get image stabilization at this resolution. Just gonna walk a bit faster after we look at these leaves here. So I did tap on the screen to focus on the leaves, and now we're gonna walk a bit faster just so you can see how the image stabilization does if you're recording in 1080p at 30 frames per second, of course. And from what I'm seeing on the screen here, quite good. I'm just gonna pan slowly towards these flowers, and once again I will tap on the screen on one of the flowers just so it can focus there. So yeah, this is how recording from the Poco M3 Pro would look like if you're recording in 1080p at 30 frames per second. As for pictures, well, the phone does decent enough with the rear camera, if you have plenty of light, of course, and taking in consideration the price, because we always have to take into consideration the price. So I'm gonna let you guys watch a few more pictures that I took over the past couple of days, and I will be back right after. Moving on to performance, well, inside this phone we have the Mediatek Dimensity 700, and for those of you that like benchmark scores, this device has an Antutu benchmark score of just under 280,000. And yes, the phone does feel way speedier when compared to the Poco M3, so I'm very happy to see that. So most applications that you're gonna be running on this device will do fine. Mostly if you have the version with 6 gigs of RAM, that will make the phone a bit more future-proof. So I highly recommend trying to get that version with 6 gigs of RAM. For apps, I've tried a variety of apps like Facebook, Chrome, even Call of Duty Mobile, and everything does seem to work really well without any lag. I mean, scrolling through your screens works good, so I don't really have anything bad to say about this phone's performance, mostly taking in consideration its price. Inside it, we also have a 5000 mAh battery, and the phone supports 18-watt fast charging. So charging this from 0 to 100 is done in just under 2 hours. Now, on one charge, I can typically get between 7 and 9 hours of screen on time. So definitely not as much as I was expecting, but even 7 to 9 hours of screen on time is pretty decent. Of course, there is a charger that comes in the box with the phone, and just in case, if you're wondering, there is also a clear case that comes in the box for the device. There is also an NFC chip inside it, so yes, you can make payments with this phone. We have a GPS unit that works really well. It only takes a couple of seconds to find your location, and once it's found your location, it doesn't seem to lose it. And we do have a variety of sensors as well. So to quickly conclude this video, for the price, I can't really say anything bad about the phone. I mean, it's a phone that supports 5G connectivity that's also pretty affordable. The only thing I wish to have had better was the screen, because the screen just doesn't get bright enough for the outdoors. And I kind of like seeing the screens on my phones better outdoors. But other than that, the phone does do what it's supposed to do. And once again, we have to take into consideration the price. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.